declare us back in open session. I need a motion to extend the meeting for 35 minutes.
So moved.
Ellen, second. Jim? All those in favor? Opposed? We have 2 opposed. Okay. All right, we're here till 9:35. All right. Jim. Action items. Financial statements. Sorry, you came back on you in a hurry.
I provided the financial statements to the budget committee. Spent a considerable amount of time going over them. Some adjustments have to be made, which we're working on right now. Continue to work on projections for forecasting through the rest of the year in preparation of having a budget for the superintendent by the 13th of February. Continuing to work on the W-2s and 1099s. It's the first year that we've used the financial software for generating them, so it's been somewhat problematic, but we're working through that. We're supposed to be getting our insurance increases this week. We're working on, hopefully, now that I guess we're going to be able to get the salary increases in the budget for the certified for the teachers. Staff and raises for that, those projections. And we're continuing to work on the uniform chart of accounts. There's some new information coming down from CASBO on Friday. Find out what kind of progress we're making along those lines. That's going to be a big initiative. We're working with the city to make sure that we're in lockstep with them in terms of how we're presenting. We're having good success so far with the new budget module. We've been able to work with the folks over there too. So I think all in all, we're making some good progress.
Okay. Motion by Fiona, I'll second the motion. The budget committee did review these, everyone was had a lot of questions, everything was answered very well. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Budget transfers.
Yes, I have 3 for you folks to look at tonight. They were all,
They have been paid.
oh, I'm sorry. Should have saved that tree.
Save you the trip.
Okay. This is for the snow plowing that's been going on this year for the first time. It wasn't budgeted. So we had to find money in the budget, which we were able to do for the October payment. So we're asking for transfer from the custodial supply and repair equipment accounts for that $16,650 for the October payment. For the November payment, working with David, we were able to find the money by hook or by crook through the Torringford School General Maintenance Fund, 5430-903. Disposal service district-wide, 715430. Printing and binding, 715550. Bottle gas district-wide, 715623. And sewer service, 5411.01. Another $16,650. And then finally, for the December payment, there was money in a salary account for Midgeon Avenue. I hate to say this on camera, but apparently last budget cycle, there was some money budgeted for a custodian at Midgeon, but he was also budgeted at a school part-time, half-time. So that money was available, luckily, to be able to pay the December payment. So coming out of the Midgeon Avenue salary account, 511, 511280, that 25,000 will cover the snow plowing for the December payment, and then, you know, obviously going forward into next fiscal year, we'll have to budget for that.
Yes.
Question, just on this particular one where you're talking about the Midgeon Avenue salary account, you're proposing to take $25,000 out of line 511280, but you're only transferring 16,615 into the new line 5430. Should this bottom
No, that's-
transfer in, shouldn't that be 24?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah. And when you say the $25,000 was in the last budget cycle, so last budget cycle, and then just got carried into the current fiscal year as we were doing a transfer in?
What happened is, apparently, the fellow that does the maintenance at Midgeon was also budgeted at another school, and there may have been an oversight. So that's where that money came
Was
from.
budgeted full-time at a school and half-time at Midgeon Avenue.
Right, okay,
It's
yes.
the same person, so they were budgeted 1.5 times.
Right.
Any other questions? All
And
those-
this total only, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
it only comes to a little over $58,000? You're not looking for the full 99,000?
They're transferring it monthly as the bills are coming in. It's-
Right, so we.
That's
So
the
only
October,
through
November,
December.
December
Yeah.
payment.
But to pay for the expenditures of the plower, I'm not seeing any of those monies that are direct savings from where those services would have been taken from.
You will. What we discussed at budget was, because the custodial overtime account, you know, now that we're into those months, they're
Okay.
gonna project the savings out of that account. But these were accounts that were currently, like the custodial at Midgeon Avenue, that money was in the budget that could be moved. They're comparing last year's custodial overtime to this year's custodial overtime to see what the savings are. They needed the money before they had time to do the analysis.
Because I don't want to vote when we have a savings in one area. I don't want that savings to then be spent somewhere else. I want to keep that savings as a saving to the district and then to the town. And I expect that's how we should project all of our savings, not say, well, we have a saving, we can find some savings here, so we'll spend it over there. We should be zero-based budgeting, and that money should be appropriately budgeted each line item. And just because it's some reason we get a savings at some point during the year, kick it back to the city, kick it back to the taxpayers.
I understand. Now, this was for plowing that we had presented an RFP, which was approved by the board. We contracted with them to do the snow plowing this year, so we needed to find the money in this budget, but your point's well taken.
And hopefully, we'll see that savings in other accounts into the future as this budget year goes on. And then we will keep that savings to give back. That's my.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Consent agenda. You get a motion for the consent agenda? Jeremy, second. Jim? Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Approval of the Board of Ed Subcommittee and liaison assignments that were handed out today with the alternates removed.
Second.
Second, discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Approval of the Torrington High School AP courses as presented.
So moved.
Bill, second. Fiona. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. I need 2 volunteers for OPEB members.
I will tentatively volunteer.
I'll volunteer. I know.
That's why my list.
We do not meet at midnight.
All right, good. I'm glad. All right. I'll make a motion that Jeremy and I be the members for the OPEB committee.
I'll second.
Second, Bill.
Darn you.
You're welcome. I'm dragging you down, buddy. All those in favor? Opposed? Approval of the district calendar 15-16.
As modified.
As modified, yes, for the 23rd.
So moved.
John, second. Jim. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Oh, I did, I'm sorry. Approval of the technology grant, 2014-15 district technology upgrades to support transition, that's too much to read. Motion?
So moved.
Bill? Second?
Second.
Jim? Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Sorry about that. Approval of the TEA contract.
So moved.
Ellen? Second?
Listen.
Okay, Jim? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? One abstention. Comments for the good of the order? Andrew?
Didn't we have to do an action item for that grant month?
We just did. Approval of,
Yeah, early childhood.
Digital technology.
oh, you're right. We'd have to amend the agenda. It's not on the agenda as an action item. I didn't know it
I'll
had
make
to
the
be an
motion.
action. What?
I'll make the motion.
Jeremy makes motion to amend the agenda to add action item J, which will be approval of early childhood grade, for lack of a better name. Second? Andrew? All those in favor of amending the agenda? Opposed? Okay. Approval of the educational cost share grant. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve it based on the board chair, conditionally approved that, conditionally approving.
Just start over.
Erase.
Requesting that grant be submitted with the approval of, condition on the board's attorney ratifying, approving, we go forward with it.
Okay. Do we have a second to that?
Yes. I think I got that to say.
All right, you have to repeat it. No. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of Andrew's motion? Unanimous. Okay. Comments for good of the order? Andrew? None. Bill?
Yeah, I was up at Torrenport School last Tuesday night, the 13th, for the winter conference, winter concert, excuse me. Band, second year band and fourth and fifth grade chorus. Kids did a great job. The cafeteria was packed, and it was like I said, it was well attended, and the kids did a great job.
Yes.
I just have two things I'd like to mention. The first thing, I know last night, some members of the Board of Ed met with City Council, and that meeting is something that had been discussed, but I didn't see online anywhere where the date of that meeting was put on any of our calendars or in any of our paperwork. And I would like to attend that meeting. I don't know, maybe other people would have as well if they had that date. So I'm just wondering if in the future we would consider, as a professional courtesy, as a form of communication, if there's going to be a public meeting where Board of Ed members know that the Board of Ed is going to be represented by Board of Ed members and it's an open meeting, if we could either maybe put that on our calendar or mention it in our packet in the upcoming dates, or maybe receive an email just letting people know about it. And the other thing, and this is maybe just an observation, and again, I know I'm new, and so if this is, you know, board, then just excuse me, but it seems like a lot of the discussion that we had tonight surrounding the early childhood grant could have been resolved if the board had agreed that they wanted to pursue this grant in the first place, which, based upon Bill's question, sounds to me like the board didn't have that opportunity.
I've never said you want to, brought us, say, oh, here, we have a grant, bring to the board, do you want us to go for it? We
Should we?
usually go because the chances of getting them are usually slim to none. And so that's why, that's never been the procedure, to bring it before. When we get it, then we bring it forward.
I guess I would respectfully submit that maybe we want to think about changing the procedure, because it seems like a lot of discussion occurs over things that wouldn't necessarily, I mean, all of those things that were discussed ad nauseum tonight could have been discussed prior to this, and those concerns could have been addressed, and then the grants that were pursued and whatnot. You know, it seems like there's a lot of damage control maybe that happens.
Except we meet once a month, and usually, like with this particular grant, we didn't even have a board meeting from the time it was sent out to the time, because of holidays and everything, the time it was due. It pretty much got written over the break between Christmas Day and New Year's. So that's, other grants, no, you might have, like the technology grant we had till February 13th. So, from the time of notice to the time they're due, we may or may not have a board meeting. But, that's how the board wants to make their procedures and protocol for writing grants. It may cut us out. I mean, we go, I think I submitted last month the number of grants that we're doing. Right now, Donna's working on 6. So it's turnaround and getting, it's difficult to write grants.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure there are challenges with the time frame. I just wonder, I mean, if the board had a chance to approve the grant and make sure that the grant was something that was consistent with our goals and with our changes that we wanted to make and things that would fit well and pursuant with our policies, if we had a chance to do that prior to pursuing the grant, we would, I think, not have a lot of the conversation and issues that you have. And maybe when you're talking about a grant that's so significant, it would be worth calling a special meeting for something like that. That's just my.
I would bring that up to policy. Bring that, when you go to policy, bring that up, because that's where all of our rules come from.
And just, it was part of the district's improvement plan to improve parent engagement and early childhood education.
No comment.
Ellen? Leon? Jim? John?
School Readiness Fair this Saturday, let's not forget that. It's a lot of fun up at Torrey Ford School.
Listen, no, tomorrow, because I got a notice of a snowstorm, so maybe,
Forecast is nasty.
yes. But thank you, John, thank you very
I
much.
didn't want us to skip by that. That CAPE booklet with the legislative program that we talked about that Michael pointed out was mailed to us. Very interesting read, obviously done by a committee, but they are speaking for us, or at least they purport to be speaking for us. So we should know, at least when we're talking to our legislators, what our organization claims to want for us. Legislative breakfast, CAPE legislative breakfast on Friday. I'm going to it if anyone wants to tell me anything that they would want brought to the legislators who are there, please do so. And School Improvement Committee, there's no place else for this, will meet at 7 o'clock as scheduled on our program from last spring, 7 o'clock on Wednesday, February 4th, reorganizational meeting. And maybe to just look at the minutes and have a little nostalgia moment. I'll bring people up to speed on that. Anyway, that's all, thank you.
Ellen?
Just want to, again, express my appreciation to board leadership for attending the council meeting. I thought it was enlightening and productive. I hope you did too.
Yeah.
And I think it set the stage for what the expectations are when we go forward with this. So at the end of this school year, I think August is when we talked about doing another one. And again, we'll just, put our heads together as to exactly what's going to be discussed, so we stay within the 4 corners of that. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'd just like to thank the TEA for their negotiating. It It went very well. We reopened, everything went well in that. I'd like to thank the city council. That meeting was actually voted on by the board to not be attended by the board, but we had agreed that board leadership would go just to test the waters and see if it was going to be the positive meeting that we hoped it would be, and it was. It wasn't a lynch mob that people feared. The exchange of ideas was very open both ways. I think that we opened a lot of doors that needed to be opened. We crossed a lot of topics that needed to be discussed, because how the city can help the Board of Ed in our rebranding, which we said was a goal, to get the city and the board on the same page. We're trying to do our options programs to get the city council and the mayor who talk to these businesses and attract these businesses to let us know what is coming to town, what types of industry are coming to town, who's looking, and what direction we should focus our option programs on, so that we're meeting the need of the particular industry that's looking to move in. And, generally overall, I thought it went very well. And, the OPEB will look forward to going down that road. And other than that, committee reports, budget.
Oh, that's me.
We met, we talked a lot. We're cleaning up a lot of items. We're finding, continuing to find overruns, which we did speak to the city about in our meeting last night, on special ed, special and regular ed out of district tuition and what have you. And we have our transfers, and other than that, we have a new chairman now.
Yes.
She's very good with those line items, so you'll know them. She knows them inside and out.
I know she does.
Grievance.
Grievance has been busy. We have several that we're holding in abeyance and trying to work with the unions to some resolutions before going to the next step. We have 2 heading likely to state arbitration, and I will fill the new chair in on all these things. We won't leave you hanging.
Thank you. Personnel, John, you were there, right?
Well, we talked about the teacher attendance, para attendance, et cetera, but the other thing was those procedural handbooks that Dan's been looking for so long have actually shown up in 2 huge stacks. I think that's half of them, maybe, Joe?
That is,
Half of them.
Yeah.
So,
I meant to bring
commendations to the
John.
staff putting those together. Looking forward to together, Shirley.
I said I apologize, I meant to bring them tonight.
You would have needed a hand truck.
needed a couple of wheelbarrows, so. Still be moving.
It's okay.
All right. Policy,
Nothing's
nothing? Okay.
We're talking, yeah, we got a few marching orders tonight. We were talking about a policy for, not facilities, but the land use, for including the turf, cell phone use in the schools, emergency lunch program. I'm also meeting with the nurses. We're going over like the medication and field trips act to make it more user-friendly for them. That will be coming back. And I look forward to a lively discussion on the modifying requirements.
School improvement, we'll just,
Just announce the meeting, that's all.
there you go. THS,
Oversight panel. I actually haven't been to those meetings because I've had other things I've needed to do, and one was canceled. But I expect there'll be some overlap there between that and the school improvement.
turf field.
Everything's going well, except that there's a little dilemma in that to get some type of fencing put in between the highway due to the trees being cut down. We're approximately $5,000 short. And the dilemma is that if the Board of Education doesn't come up with the additional 5, we may lose $15,000 in donations. They'll pull the donations, and then I guess the entire $20,000 will be on the Board of Ed, because it's really not, the turf committee, in their generosity and graciousness, has decided that they would like to get that fencing up, but it wasn't part of the project, and it's not really their responsibility. But like I say, they've got 15,000 of it in donations, but they don't have the other 5, and they're searching and trying hard to get the 5. Doesn't look like they'll get the 5, so it's really gonna be a matter of the board deciding if they wanna cough out the 5 and getting this thing done and finished. So,
Why wouldn't it be the city? It's their project. I mean, if the city were to ask, I mean,
the board should somehow, I don't know what subcommittee you wanna have discuss it and find out if you can put over 5,000 somewhere in the next couple of months.
we froze the budget on December 31st because of, we can't meet our bills now.
Well,
I
then
don't
just,
see
then,
where that's gonna come
then
from.
that gap is gonna be there, and it's gonna be for the board when this thing, when it gets turned over to us, instead of only having to pay, cough up 5, we'll have to cough up 20. It's not a threat or anything, it's just the fact of life that these people will pull their money, their contributions if it can't get done.
Has the field been turned over to the board?
No.
No, it isn't done yet, you know, and there's still a punch list of items that need to be done. That
So
really
from a
can't be
legal
done.
standpoint, we can't give the $5,000. So I think.
And I don't know if it's a legal standpoint. I think the question about that netting is, you know, is this really a field construction cost, or is this netting really, you know, a safety measure for the teams that are using the field? I haven't been privy to a whole lot of the dialogue about where they are with their fundraising efforts.
Well, we're
But I'll certainly
5,000.
reach out to them and ask them what's going on, and
Quick question, do we just need the netting because the trees are gone?
Yeah, we don't wanna have,
I have a bunch of magnolias in Colorado.
I'll bring
that
Come on, I just showed you, you're terror.
But I think it needs to be clear, the board is not unwilling, the board is not able to give the money when the field is not in our possession.
Okay,
There's a
that-
big difference.
yeah, well, we'll try and get, that's why I'm saying, try and get some dialogue with whatever subcommittee, or I'll just bring that back. The
Well, I
board's
mean,
willing
is
to
it-
have a dialogue and try and figure out who to have that dialogue.
I'll say as acting budget chair for the last 2.5 months, that the fact that we froze the budget and we're not letting anything else happen in the school district, to ask us at this point, we would have to say no, because we froze everything else. I mean, I can't tell everybody in the schools, you can't buy staples or calculators, as it was in the newspaper. We can't turn around and buy a netting and have them have to have a fundraiser to get calculators for the kids. I mean, that would be, I think, sending the wrong message
Okay.
for a Board of Education.
I'm just the messenger here.
I understand.
But we do teach kids not to run out in the road in their kindergarten and first grade classes, don't we?
We should.
I thought we did.
Part of the curriculum.
Okay.
All right, let's squeeze you in there, John. We didn't mend the agenda, but Ed Connection?
Ed Connection, actually, quiet in Ed Connection, they don't meet in December, the board of directors doesn't meet. But the policy council for Head Start, Early Head Start has, we had a long meeting on Tuesday, and everything is, all quiet on that front, but it's moving along. That's fine.
Items for upcoming agenda, I have financial statements, committee reports, out-of-district tuition and transportation. Anything anybody can think of?
Yeah, I'd like to have the administration think in terms of what is happening in the community as far as having pockets in this community that are extremely poor, pockets that aren't as poor, trying to somehow integrate all of our schools so that middle-class people will want to live in any area of Torrington and not make their decision that they won't live in one area or another area based on the fact that they have a perception that that school district is not as good as another school district. At some point, the city of Torrington has to deal with that problem, that there's only one zone that people want to live in Torrington, and it's based basically on what they perceive as a high-performing school district. And until we can create an image that all our school districts have the same high-performing level, so that wherever a person who wants to come and live in Torrington will not make their decision not to live in that neighborhood because they don't feel that that neighborhood will, their children, by living in that neighborhood, will go to a school that they perceive as not as high performing.
They should look at the historical data of the elementary schools.
Well,
because-
talk to people and ask them why they're leaving Torrington and why they're not moving to
Andrew,
Torrington.
I think that's part of our board goals, is the branding.
Right.
What?
And part of our board goals.
Well,
for
we're
the
not-
15th,
we're not
16th,
getting it.
Excuse me, is branding, and that's what we're starting to work on,
Okay.
and with the city also. So I think it's gonna be evolving.
Well, it's gotta evolve a little
I
quicker
would,
than
I
it
would
is
say
now.
the place for that is the school improvement committee, because you're talking about,
Well,
so bring it to a meeting, and I'm sure they would be more than willing to address that, because that's exactly what you're talking about. How do you make them all balance out? That's what that committee was originally created for that type of issue. Anything else? Okay,
Move with adjourn.
I got one more thing. Can you give me a half a minute?
Do I have a choice?
You do, you threw it out there. All right.
Take 30 seconds.
Future meetings, we have policy on the 4th at 6 o'clock. We have school improvement on the 4th at 7 o'clock. We have personnel on the 11th at 6. We have budget on the 11th at 7. Our next regular board meeting is 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 18th. Bill?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second? Second by Andrew. All right, let's go. All those in favor? Opposed? Who wants to stay? Come on.